yeah. So I started all over again. I started SportStop in 2001, and within like 3 years, I think it was 3 years, we had already sort of hit about the same number, same
Sure.
sales numbers I had in the previous company, but I was doing it at like 1/10 the cost, because because two things had changed. I mean, back in the 90s, we had to have our own server and our own dedicated line, and we
Mhm.
had, it just costs more to do things. But but anyways, I forget what the where I feel like I'm off off on some tangent,
No,
but
no.
yeah, so that's sort of how it started. I got into it because I was into technology. I knew about the internet. I did sport. I picked sporting goods as the thing to start on this auction site, and then when that didn't work out, um, when the downturn came, I still just saw there was a great opportunity there, so I started up again and just did a different model where then I was really doing, okay, here's a store. I still was I was still selling some things, but on other auction sites. So I mean, back in those days, in the first few years, I did a lot more on Amazon, and I think we even did some things on eBay. But then we also had our store, and then over time that took over more and more of the business, and then too, as we focused down to just lacrosse, that worked out really well. So
Sure, sure. Well, I not interrupt because that's one of the coolest stories we've heard, right? Like something that spans back all the way to when really e-commerce started at the beginning. So maybe from your perspective of looking at the e-commerce world over like a 20-year period, right? All the changes, all the things. If there were like a couple of pointers you would leave behind for people who are just starting out in the e-commerce space, having a business online, what would that be?
what would that be? Um,
I mean, I honestly think
yeah,
they will not be able to get that many more people who have that experience in running an e-commerce business, right? So I'm sure
right,
that advice
right.
is going to be well received.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess it's just nowadays it's just so easy to get started and so inexpensive to get started in something. I mean, obviously, if my kids or some other buddy, somebody else was interested in doing it, I would just say like, yeah, start with something, open a little store, sell a few things. Obviously, just do it on the side, keep your other day job for a while. But there's
Mhm.
just so many things you can, yeah, I mean, you don't need this huge infrastructure anymore. You can have your products, even if they're big and bulky things, you could, use a third party warehouse if you want to have 24-hour customer support for whatever reason for something, you can outsource some of that stuff, and you can do so much for so little nowadays to get started. It's just amazing. So it's just, yeah, picking the products that you're out there offering and stuff. I mean, one thing we don't do very well, which I think other people that are starting out now might have to do, is, with in social media and sharing more things and becoming, getting the right influences or whatever. Um, we haven't really had to. I mean, again, I think now with us, the issue is I mean, lacrosse is really kind of a fairly small sport, and we've been in it so long, we're well known enough in that small
Sure,
industry that,
sure.
we don't have to be whatever, posting every
Mhm.
day on different things and saying whatever,
Mhm.
this is cool or that, it's not whatever. It's not makeup or something and trying to get somebody to
Sure.
whatever. It's weird. It's its own thing, because it's a sport, and it's that people like doing that, and they're just getting the they just need to get the tools they want to do it as best they can. If somebody who's into lacrosse really wants to be playing lacrosse, they don't want to
Sure.
be watching just TikTok videos of other people playing lacrosse all the time or something. So I don't know. But there's a ton of other things that, yeah, I just think there's so much opportunity out there for doing things. And there's no way I'd be opening, you know, a physical store, for any reason. Or if you did open a physical store, you should really have a great online component, because then fine, use the store as the place you're gathering to every day, but you can project so much out there now. I can't, I can't imagine these little places that are around. I mean, I'm in kind of a rural area, so there's sometimes little shops that obviously are a hobby or something of somebody's on the side. I'm just like, how can this survive? But anyways.
Well, that's great advice. That being said, though, right, one of the elephants in the room, especially over the past year and a half, has been COVID, right? And I guess one of the hardest hit industries has been the sporting goods space, right? Just because of how people were forced to stay indoors.
Mhm.
How did you, or what were the strategies you had in place to survive through that, and how effective were those?
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we were going into um, what looked like our best year ever before COVID
Mhm,
hit. January and February that month, sales were up, you know, 10-20%. Things were looking great. Um, when COVID hit, there was really like a just a few day period where sales went from, up to being, I think it, dropped 80-90%, and then a flood of returns. So yeah, it was a dramatic change. I mean, um, uh, you know, we pretty much immediately, this was, I think, like a Wednesday or a Thursday for us, that we saw the sales just tank and over the weekend down. And I'm like, okay, I'm watching this every day. And so I went in that Monday. We fulfilled the orders we had, and then actually we laid off half our staff, um, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And then the rest of us that stayed, took pay cuts, and we were just like, okay, we don't know how long this is going to be. We don't know what, so we just went to ground. We just, cut costs as much as possible. We cut back on everything.
sure.
And then we kind of came back. I mean, uh, sales recovered a little. I mean, since everybody was stuck at home, there was a bit of a sales bump in some of the things that people could do at home, so like, um, a goal in your backyard or a rebounder and things like that. There was, or
Mhm,
people restringing their heads, those types of
mhm,
things, sales increased a bit. Um, and so, we went from, instead of everything being 80% down, we were down like, 50% or something. But since we'd also
sure.
cut our costs as much as possible, we were able to float there for a while. So yeah, we just cut costs as much as possible, and then two, we use that time to really redo any of our processes
Mhm,
that we could do. So like we had started the project a couple months before COVID to be switching to Shopify,
uh-huh,
and when COVID hit, we were like, we're still gonna we still want to switch. We still want to, we're still moving to this other platform. So we kept that project going. And by, I think, October of that year, we launched Shopify. And then pretty quickly, within a couple months, we also switched off our backend system. We were using NetSuite at the time, which is a little pricey for,
mhm,
so Oracle owns NetSuite, so it's a kind of a pricey backend system, and that company didn't. NetSuite did not pretty much do anything to help alleviate the cost when COVID hit. They
sure.
like let you pay, a month or two later, but I'm like, I need a smaller bill. So anyways, we switched off that as quickly as we could, and so yeah, so during a year plus of COVID, we basically, switched our website, we switched our backend system, we changed our accounting system, we changed everything to new systems that both function better and cost less than what we were doing before. So, you know,
Mhm,
so we just kind of quickly switched as much quickly as possible to lower costs, but turned out to be better solutions. Um, and Yeah, so it's great now at this
sweet.
point, coming out of it with sales increasing and doing, we're in a better position. We're more efficient.
Uh-huh.
We're able to do more with less people, and our technology costs month to month are, you know, half of what they were before. So,
Sure. Well, that matches up with advice we hear from the best of businesses, right? Like even though sales, etc., were down, a lot of businesses we speak to have continued working on themselves internally to make themselves more efficient and still continue to innovate, right?
right.
So that being said, right, one of the most popular questions we were asking a few of our customers regarding what they wanted to hear from you, right? Like one of the things that came up was the positioning, right? So you briefly touched on that. Something that I believe a lot of our customers would love to learn about is how you're able to narrow down on a niche area like lacrosse, and what were the parameters that led you to focus specifically on this market?
hmm
Basically, finding out the best product market fit there.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, for us, it was just trial and error. I mean, when I launched the site, we had probably 10 to 12 different sports that we had that we were offering products in, and we just we just kept narrowing down. I mean, anything that was working for us, we tried to build up and do more, and the things that were either declining in sales or not growing fast enough, we just eliminated. So, even though sometimes it was, you know, sometimes it's hard to turn some of those things off. But like our last sport we were still in, before going only to lacrosse, was snowboarding. So snowboarding, we probably did hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in snowboarding, and we had actually been dealing with only a few vendors and had pretty decent relationships with them, and did a fair number of their closeouts and stuff each year. But still, it was like, um, it's a completely different customer base, and even things like shipping the products. It's completely, shipping out of snowboards a lot different than shipping out, lacrosse gloves and stuff like, so I mean, you have to like set up your warehouse certain ways to handle having those types of items on board. So even though, like, at that time, yeah, it was really walking away from hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales when we were only at maybe a couple $1 million in sales. So it was giving up, maybe 20% of our sales. Um, it still was the right thing to do, to just kind of focus down and then, um, increase the selection, and our knowledge and everything of one thing was a lot better than having two or three or four different unrelated items that we were supporting. So yeah, we just had to keep.
Mhm.
I mean, but we, again, with us is mostly trial and error. It could have gone another way, and one of the other, we could have ended up, you know, being, whatever, a scuba supply store or something at this point. I didn't really start out thinking, that, okay, this is the thing we're definitely gonna do. But yeah, just over time, so it was really, accept, instead of fighting it, instead of being like, geez, this stuff should really sell better. And instead of feeding the fire where it's going, I mean, build up on that thing that's going, rather than wasting all your time trying to revive the thing you think
Mhm.
should work. So I think that was really key in us, because yeah, you could a lot of your time can be sucked, and energy and stuff, into just revive. But I mean, we even do it right now with inventory, where we'll buy different things, and some things won't sell as well, but we really don't focus a lot of our time on, like, okay, how can we finally clear out these things? Instead, we really focus our time on, like, this thing's selling really well. How do we get more of these? Or what other things like that can we do? And so if you focus on the things that are working and build that up, and almost ignore, and mostly ignore the thing that's not working, because just deal with the stuff that's not working in your slow time. Then be like, okay, finally, all right, here's these things. I'm going to mark them way down, or I'm going to donate them, or I'm going to throw them away, or whatever. but mostly focus on the stuff that's working and make that better and better.
Sure, sure. Well, related to that, right? I heard you speak quite a bit about customers directing your choices. So one of the things I know from experience is the fact that sporting goods happens to be one of the hardest industries to be in, especially when you're online, right? Because athletes are a bit finicky. They want just the perfect product, want touch and feel of something that they purchase. So how are you able to offer a great customer experience, be it on the website when they're checking out of the product or after the purchase is complete? Such that they stick with the decision to purchase equipment online.
Hmm. Um, I mean, I think for us, I mean, the issue is like since we're, I mean, first of all, people that are in lacrosse, we don't have a lot of return, or our return rate's actually probably a fair amount lower, I think, than some of the other companies out there, probably because people are a little bit more knowledgeable about what the product is and what it's
Mhm,
going to be like. I mean, it still comes down. Obviously, it still comes down to like sizing issues and things like that. But
mhm,
um, that's just expected, and then we just need to make sure that. I mean, if you make it easy enough for people to get the thing back, then it's fine. You just don't
sure.
want to have a whole bunch of, and you want to be responsive. That's all. When somebody's something, they get it, and oh, I thought I was getting this, but I got that, and I thought, it's just
Mhm,
being there to respond is really 90% of it. It thinks, you think, and then if or two, or if I mean, again, it's just perfecting things as you go along. Find, oh boy, we have a couple. We've had this before where sometimes some brand, certain size ends up really,
mhm,
this fits really a lot smaller and stuff. And so, we have multiple people complaining about this, and we have the size chart that the brand sent us, but it's a little bit off. So sometimes it's updating the site and saying, oh, well, this runs a little small, this runs a little big, whatever. But it's really about just, I think, being responsive and answering the questions, because number of times sometimes people get things and then there's like, oh, I'm not sure how to adjust this or how to do this. And that's one thing we have versus, if somebody buys something on Amazon, you get it and it either works
mhm,
or it doesn't work.
sure.
And there's no product knowledge that anybody at Amazon has on anything. And so it's just, oh, okay, this doesn't work, send it back, or this is defective, whatever. There's just this, and there's no support there. But being in a niche, you know, we can provide a little more help and a little more insight, and you know,
Mhm,
and really too, we're actually not a bunch of lacrosse players and stuff. So it's not like this a bunch of bros, lacrosse bros are here, and we're like, oh hey, yeah, this is great and this is great. We're really just more of us are parents and we have kids, and it's like, here's this thing, this is what works or doesn't work, or and it's just talking to them and trying to understand things and all that stuff. Um but you were asking really about the process and all that. Again, it's just making it easy, make it easy to buy, make it easy to send things back if there is a problem, being reasonable about all those things, and most people are reasonable, so it's fine, if they get it and, oh, I thought the color would be like this or that. As long as you're responsive and explain, like, oh no, that is what the navy blue is with that company, and it is quite dark. It almost looks black.
sure.
Okay, if you do, sometimes they're okay. That's fine. That's what it is. But whatever. So
Yeah, I mean, something that we consistently heard about when we're doing a bit of background research is that people speak very highly of the experience they receive from you, right? The customer experience front, they have very positive things to say about the entire purchase experience. So again, for brands which are starting out or maybe a bit less experienced, what would be your pointers on getting their customer experience piece right?
right. Um, I think it would be getting back to people in a timely manner, and in providing clear ways for people to communicate. I mean, if you're gonna have an online chat thing, then actually having it be live for a reasonable number of hours and being responsive during that, um, but you don't have to get crazy with the things. You don't have to provide 24-hour support, and you don't have to provide, you don't have to have an 800 number that people are going to call up and ask random questions. It's more important that if they do email you or if they do reach out via chat, that they get a response back in a reasonable amount of time, and that it's not screaming into the void. Um, so it's getting back to people in a timely manner, and then it's just hopefully listening enough to what that question is to really answer the question they're asking, and not assuming.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sometimes we get all sorts of tickets in, and people answers things, and I'm looking at sometimes what my support people are responding, and every once in a while it's hard where I'm like, you didn't really answer the question they asked. They kind of have,
Sure.
because usually people have more than one
Mhm.
question or thing anyways. They're putting two or three different things in there, and sometimes you got to take a moment to really sort of
Sure.
try to prioritize what's really the important part and make sure you address that, and then those other things are a little less minor. But sometimes we like assume, we're like, oh, they're this, and then you answer that, and it's like, no, that isn't what they were really asking. They really are asking this other aspect about the product. Don't assume that the last three customers that contacted you about this thing, maybe they
Mhm.
all had problem A, but this person has problem B. So yeah, it's
Mhm.
getting back to people in a timely manner, and really trying to, before you react, try to understand what it is. But
Mhm.
people, and even if things get complicated and then there's two or three or four back and forth things, or they've got something and it was missing a part, and now you're working with the brand and trying to get them. Sometimes we run into things that sometimes it takes a couple weeks till the resolution's there, um, which isn't great, but it's just how it's happening. Um,
Sure.
but if you're on it enough, if you're responsive enough, and if you do what you say you're going to do, if you say, "Hey, I'm going to contact the brand, and I'll get back to you tomorrow," and what they
Mhm.
say, you have to get back to them tomorrow. If you say, like, "I'm going to get back to you by this time," or just follow up for when you promise it. And so for that, you need the right tools to
Mhm.
remind you to have the ticket come back up to, get off a snooze and come back up to the top, and then you can like, oh yeah, that's right, it's been 2 days, and whatever, I haven't checked the tracking on this, or I didn't get a notice from this brand that they did send this part, and whatever. So even if you can't instantly fix somebody's problem, which you won't be able to all the time, um, just keep with it and do whatever you say you're going to do, and follow up with them in the period of time you said. Even if you're following up with, I still don't have a tracking number from this
Mhm.
company
Mhm.
sending you this parts back, I call them again. Even if you have to do that every day for a week, that's better
Mhm.
than
Mhm.
them thinking, I'm screwed, they don't care, or whatever. So
Sure. Sure. Wow, that's great advice. I mean, simple but effective, right? Like, be reasonable, be available, and follow through on
right.
promises that you make.
Right, right.
Um,
We really here focus so much on just the basics for things,
mhm.
and it's kind of it's just funny, Again, I told you we're not like a bunch of lacrosse players and have all this huge in-depth knowledge of the ins and outs of every position
Mhm.
and everything and all the equipment, and we don't fall in love with, oh, we love this thing, we hate this thing. Um,
Mhm.
but we really just focus on the, let's ship the person the correct product, let's get it out. If we have the shipping cutoffs this day at this time, we absolutely have to get all those things out that time. And even if that means, even when the power goes out for an hour or the snow's coming down or whatever, we're like, somebody in Southern California, they do not care that we just got 10 inches of snow. Okay.
Absolutely.
They,
Uh-huh.
they just want the thing to ship out when they ship, so yeah, we've kept on the basics of like, whatever, the pictures are right, the descriptions are right, ship the right thing, you know, if somebody contacts you with a problem, then get back to them and follow through and, you know, just do those basic things right. And then we do nothing with like the razzmatazz of, oh, we're doing this cool thing. We did this cool video, or we're posting this weird thing, or we did this creative thing. We just do none of that. It's like, do the basics and do them right and keep doing it day after day after day and be super reliable. And, you know, because it's hard enough getting all that done. Because everybody, but every once in a while, some things happen. But I mean, it's once a year maybe when the snow gets that bad, or things went so bad that we didn't ship out the things that we said we were going to ship out. So we just work hard at that. I mean,
Sure.
we've had it bad where we've actually been out there with headlamps, picking products out of the warehouse and running
Wow.
extension cords to get, we'll have the power will be out, but the generator will be running, you
Hmm.
know, and we'll power a few things there, and we'll tether the internet with our cell phone if the internet's down, and so, just like, let's just see if we can make this work. Let's still get this done, so.
Sure. Well, with such an emphasis on getting basics right? I think a perfect follow-up question to that is we are approaching the busiest part of the year for many, many businesses, right? The holiday season, where not only volumes go up, but then associated issues, right? Like delivery delays, delivery errors, etc., also creep up, right? So, what is your typical strategy like for planning and also executing things well during the busiest part of the year?
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously we try to prepare and plan a lot, and get our staff that has not been through our busiest time. We keep talking to them about, okay, here, this is what we're going to need to get done in this period of time, and the busyness is coming and all that stuff. Um, so yeah, it's for us, it's just a lot of, I mean, months ahead of time, and then as the weeks get closer, it's just okay, do we have all the boxes we need? Do we have this? Is all the equipment working right? Do you really know how to do? Is there anything else that that we're expecting you to do that you need training on, this little weird thing that's happening, once or twice a month. Let's figure that out and get that fixed, because it's going to be happening, once a day come the busy time or whatever. So it's us just looking back at the details of like, gee, do we have enough paper for the printers? Do we have enough boxes? Do we have enough tape? Do we have enough labels? Do we have this? Do we have enough stations, you know, done? We do hire, sometimes we'll hire some temps to come in for the holiday rush, but we'll have them do a real level thing of like, our picking process is very clear and good. We have
Mhm.
iPads and scanners, and everything's numbered, and everything's in a location, and everything has a barcode. And so we can really, if we do need temp people for picking, it's literally, we tell them what to do, 5 minutes of training, and they're
Sure,
off, and they're
sure.
they're 80% as effective as somebody who's been here for months and months and months. So for that particular job, so yeah, it's just planning and just try again, button up everything. And if you've had, if that one tape machine's, you know, being a little weird, once or twice a week, it's like fixing it and being like, okay, this shouldn't, because this is going to happen a lot, and this is going to happen at like the worst time on a Monday when we're trying to get everything out. We don't want somebody futzing around with this for 20 minutes to try to get it working again. Let's just get it all working. So,
Mhm. That's great advice again. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people falter on the basics when they're encountered with the busiest part of the year, right? So,
Right.
sure, all our businesses we work with will really benefit from that. So, one final question to round up, right? Like, I know we've had started having an engagement with SportStop. So, could you tell us a bit about how you found out about LateShipment.com and how we were able to help you?
I think I probably just found it on the Shopify App Store, but I had been using a different, solution for kind of creating better, um, having better tracking and having a little better experience there. I mean, with that other thing, it was they had that insurance part, which is useless, but um, so I liked the, kind of having a better experience of people being able to track the products and seeing what's going on. And I really liked the component that you had where you were going to be able to file, claims and look at, you know,
Mhm,
the reliability of the things that get there and stuff. So those were the initial things that attracted me. I wanted to have the nicer tracking, and I wanted to be able to automate filing for claims on things.
mhm,
But I mean, since using it, um, we have started, since you do have the visibility into like, okay, here these packages are on the way, and this one's going to be late, or hey, it looks like this delivery failed. We have set up those alerts, and that's been helpful because before it was just whatever the customer would reach out when it went bad, and then you're just playing catch up at
mhm,
that point. So I've liked that. I've liked definitely like the failure alerts, so then we can reach out and try to
mhm,
get ahead of it a little bit and not have it be that they're just pissed off that whatever it's been a week or two and I thought this would have been here by now, and why is this being sent back to SportStop or something, I mean, so I hadn't that hadn't attracted me initially to the product, but I do like that now. And again, like everything, we're not using all the features and stuff yet,
mhm.
but I like, how it's all
Sure.
integrated in there, and that's why I'm excited too about hopefully using this returns management thing and being like, oh, okay, here, you'll know when the return has arrived back here and it's sitting there, and that's um, what's going on, and just again having a little more visibility in there, and that's something we just had never had before, nor we thought we needed, but it is helpful.
Thank you so much, Paul. Again, it's been a pleasure working with you, and at the same time, looking at the larger picture, the conversation we had, especially coming from somebody who has such rich experience in the e-commerce space, I'm sure it's going to benefit every business that is part of a community, right? So thank you so much for your insights, and look forward to continuing to work with you.
Be sure to join us alongside over 5,000 leading e-commerce and retail logistics leaders and get insider knowledge delivered to you. Subscribe to our newsletter for more. Want to learn more about LateShipment.com's post-purchase excellence platform? Write to us on sales@LateShipment.com.